welcome to this, and this is a question and answer, so, as the title says, so let's get on with the questions. Let me start with a question that everyone has asked, but no one really put in a question type of format, but I will answer anyways, and that's with the Chris Jericho fan video garbage. That's what it is. It's garbage. If you've actually read what happened, not just what, if you are, I'm not going to say dumb enough, but if all you have seen is the videos, then you need to actually go and read the eyewitness accounts that are pretty much everywhere that you can imagine, and read what actually happened. Because if you read what happened, you had 3 people being complete dumbasses to Chris Jericho. The girl in particular, why you would go up to somebody's car and beat on it, I have no idea. I don't know where security was during all of this either. Then you had a mob-like situation. Bad things are going to happen when you have a mob-like situation. So that is what happened. You know, I don't see anything happening from it. He shouldn't be suspended because it wasn't his fault. It was a bad situation all the way around, and I blame the 3 people that started it, to be completely honest. So there we go with that. Now to another question that lots of people have asked. Hey Tslay, I just watched Gabe's Book of Secrets, and he described what he would have done. I found the DVD interesting. My question to you is, have you seen it? If you have, what do you think about it? Do you agree or disagree with him? If you haven't, are you going to see it? Well, I saw it. I agree with him on some parts about, you know, you have to, on selling the DVDs, but I disagree with him when it comes to pacing of shows, particularly because I don't know how many times I read on shows where people at the shows would say they were wore out by the end of the night, and that by the time the main event came up, they just wanted the night to be over, even though it was a great main event. That's not a good thing. That's not fair to the guys in the main event. So I don't agree with that. He defended that a couple of times with pacing stuff, and basically I think it was just him just defending himself for no reason. Also, some of his booking ideas that he would have done, which ended up happening, most of them anyways, long-term, very long-term, were very puzzling to me, and I didn't quite understand. It seemed like he was just trying to push guys and not push guys that were marketable. And that is, you know, for ROH, even though you don't maybe have a lot of marketable guys, you have to push the guys that are marketable. And not doing that was pretty big. He did admit that probably his biggest problem was the fact that he was booking too many guys, and that he continued to do it, and that was probably why he got fired, among other things that he admitted. So it's interesting to watch. I wouldn't necessarily go buy it myself because it wasn't anything too spectacular or earth-shattering. You know, it's a shoot interview, and I never like shoot interviews because 90% of the time the guy doing the interview sucks. This was very much the same way. Even though he was entertaining, you know, I'm sure Gabe doesn't want to talk about it, but the fact of the matter is the guy needed to ask him about Rob. And the fact that he didn't ask him about Rob is a complete joke, in my opinion. And the stuff, particularly that Rob's goons had done after Gabe, or after Rob had left the company while Gabe was with the company, also. And the fact that he didn't, I think, was kind of a disservice to Gabe, to be completely honest. Because I think that now that he was away from the company, he should have been allowed, or even just kind of pushed to unload on some of these people. So there you go with that. Let's see, my question is, if Vince had just kept the territories and did what he does now on Raw and Smackdown, and would go to the different territories, wrestling would be better today. Would wrestling be better today? I don't know. I would say this. I do agree that the brands needed to be kept separate. I have said this before. I think when they brought in WCW, that the brands, that SmackDown should have been WCW and Raw should have been WWE, and now you have ECW, of course, which is, you know, what it is. I'm a big believer that you need to keep the brands separate because I think it does make the shows themselves special, and have all 3 of them touring. I think it would be better, and I do think it would be better to that degree. I also think if they set up their developmental in a territory-like way, I think it would be better as well, because you'd be able to get more guys and look at more guys, and that's not the way it's set up, unfortunately. Their developmental right now is pretty wretched. from all accounts. Which ROH wrestler do you think would fit best in WWE? A lot of people say Nigel McGuinness. Do you agree? I've said Nigel McGuinness about 100 times every time everybody asks that question, so I will say it again. Nigel McGuinness. Do you utilize the ROH DVD subscription service? If so, would you recommend it to others? I'm very picky about the DVDs I buy, so no. But if if you think it's a good deal for you because you buy a lot of, you think you would buy a lot of ROH DVDs, then by all accounts, I think it's probably a good idea. But for myself, not really. You definitely should do the math. Even when I added it up, it didn't seem like a great deal. It sounded like a good deal, but not a great deal. So there you go. Since ROH has gotten a deal with HDNet, do you think they will bring in new wrestlers to help main event, such as Elijah Burke, Val Venis, and D'Lo Brown, or push wrestlers to the main event, such as Chris Hero, Davey Richards, or Delirious, or will they just use the main eventers they're using now? I would imagine probably all of that kind of combined. They definitely are already brought in D'Lo Brown. He'll probably be back. They want to apparently bring in Val Venis. I'm all for that. If they bring in Elijah Burke, I'm all for that as well. I think if you mix those guys in, particularly the older guys, and help them put over the younger guys, just because they are names, not because of what they are, not because of, don't do what TNA has done and put them over the young guys, but let the young guys go over them and help make guys out of them. I think it's good. I think you probably have to add a couple of their guys to the main event and with the main eventers they already have. So there you go. Do you think a wrestler establishing himself as one character and then completely changing it is a bad thing? Example, Austin Aries to Austin Starr. I wouldn't call Austin Aries and Austin Starr a completely radical character change. But it's probably not a bad thing. Look at JBL. I mean, he went from Justin Hawk Bradshaw to to Bradshaw, the Acolyte, to APA, now to JBL. And all of those characters are, except for when he was in the APA and as an Acolyte, those characters are all very different from one another. So I think right there shows you that it can work. It just depends on how you do it. I think it all depends on that. Many wrestlers in TNA are currently being accused of using steroids. Do you believe Kurt Angle is still using steroids, and could this potentially be disastrous? I don't think Kurt is using steroids because he looks much smaller than he did when he was in the WWE. A lot of people apparently still think he's using pain meds, though, which is just as bad. There does seem to be a lot of guys in TNA that look to be using steroids. You don't know, but it doesn't help that everybody who looks into it says their drug policy is pretty much a joke. So there you go. Hey, Truthslayer, I got into wrestling during the Invasion angle. I love the angle and it drew me into being a fan, but looking back I see that many people didn't like it. How do you feel about it, and why was it hated so much? Same reason I don't like it, because it was a huge failed opportunity. It wasn't pulled off well. It got to the point where the WWE was trying to show that it was better than WCW, instead of showing that that the guys were on equal ground, which would have been better, because then you would have instead of burying some of the guys that they did end up burying, you would have actually had more stars, and would have probably ended up helping them in the long run, and that's not what happened. It also didn't help that they didn't sign a lot of the big stars that people wanted. They probably should have held off on the angle until, or had just, like I said, kept WCW separate, and that way they could have kept, maybe gotten some of the guys they didn't end up getting right away. Sting they never got, and Goldberg, of course. So there you go. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Chikara's King of Trios and IWA Mid-South's Ted Petty invitational tournaments, and which ones would you recommend to buy? I guess you're talking about last year's. I did not see the Ted Petty tournament last year. I heard it was good, not one of the better ones. I did see the King of Trios tournament. That is awesome, particularly if you like comedy wrestling. Not for everybody, as Chikara is not for everybody. But it was an awesome 3 nights, I will say that, and I've said that before. I definitely wished I had been there for the show. It was that good, or shows. It was that good. Lots of guys. Some matches weren't taken seriously and shouldn't have been taken seriously. Other matches were very good. I think it has something for everybody. King of Trios is coming up again very soon, and if you're in the Philly area, I would recommend checking it out because it looked like a lot of fun last year, so there you go. One of your gripes with the WWE seems to be that Triple H and John Cena are booked as if they are invincible. Do you think that TNA is trying to do the same thing with Kurt Angle and the rest of the main event Mafia? I don't know if they're trying to, but they're doing a damn good job of it. So there you go. Just briefly, what makes a true 5-star match? I've been watching your reviews, and some matches are getting up to 4.5 stars. Is it really that hard to get up to that status? And what was the last legit 5-star match? In my opinion, it was the Dragon Gate match, the first Dragon Gate 6-man in ROH. That match is insane. A lot of that has to do with the fans. The fans really, really helped do that. It was the first time that a lot of us had seen a match like that. It's still the best of I would say all of those since they've done it year after year after year. And that would be, in my opinion, the last one. And it is hard. I mean, I have to really, 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 really like a match. It has to be a match that I feel like I can go to my non-wrestling friends, the ones that don't like pro wrestling, show it to them, and even they will enjoy it. To me, there's a lot of things that go into it. The ladder war between the Briscoes and Steen and Jericho was very close, and if it hadn't been for the botched ending, probably I would have given it 5 stars because I liked it that much. So there you go. I was wondering, do you think WWE will ever release a 10th anniversary of Smackdown DVD like they did for Raw? Do you think it would be a good idea? I would like to see it simply because there's a lot of matches that that I would imagine you could stick on there that were very good and probably deserve to be on a DVD. I really wish the WWE would release every year just a top 10 matches that were on Raw and SmackDown and ECW. I would like that, or even Saturday Night's Main Event if they continually do those. I would be all for that. Dear Tslay, I love your vids, but here's my question. Do you see R-Truth being over in the WWE and perhaps being a world champion one day in WWE? I wouldn't say a champion. I do think he could be very, very over if they pushed him right, but you're asking them to push him right, and that's not always the easiest thing in the world. How much is the wrestling industry in general in need of veterans like Terry Funk who will put the business needs ahead of their own? I bring this up because you said ROH needs some veterans to put over the younger talent. I think ROH needs it. You really can't do it in WWE, I don't think, because just for guys being overly political. TNA could really use it too, because you have to make guys, and if you're not the WWE, you have to make guys, you have to make them look important, and that's what you need, and that's not what they got, so there you go. Hey Tslay, I've been a wrestling fan for a while now, and have never gotten into ROH. If I were just a fan of WWE, how would you describe ROH compared to WWE, and why should I pay more attention to ROH? Let's see, how would I describe it? Better matches, faster paced matches, even now. The storylines are not as elaborate, but they are far better. They make more sense. Most of the stuff that happens makes sense. Now, as of late, there are more screw jobs, but they all make sense and they all lead to something better, so that is good. Basically, a lot of the stuff that people don't like about WWE, Ring of Honor does. As far as what they would like to see the WWE, Ring of Honor does. Also, you can see a lot of younger guys that you probably haven't seen before. There's a lot of good wrestling, and if you like good wrestling, I would always recommend Ring of Honor. So, there you go. It seems to me that the IWC has a problem against big wrestlers. Some still grant respect, like Taker or Samoa Joe, but for the most part, if you're a big man in wrestling, you get labeled slow, generic, and not being able to wrestle. When did not being able to flip or mat wrestle for 30 minutes straight make you a bad wrestler? I have no idea. I think that's a fairly new thing. Though, big men not being able to perform at the levels of, smaller guys is not a new thing. And guys have always gotten criticized for it. But, that goes back, to Hulk Hogan, to be perfectly honest. I think it depends on, are you entertaining? If you're entertaining, it really doesn't matter. But if you're slow and boring, Great Khali, then it is a problem. And you do have guys that basically have their spots only because of their size or because they are big muscular guys and not because they can actually wrestle worth a damn. So I think that has part of it too. Hey Tslay, does it matter how many faces or heels are in a wrestling company? Not really. It just depends on, if you have a dominant heel, you probably need, more faces, and if you have a dominant face, you probably need more heels. That's probably the only thing I would go with that. In your opinion, who are the hottest women to come out of professional wrestling? Let's see. Who would I say the hottest women are to ever come out of pro wrestling? Let's see. I think anyone that has watched my videos for probably since they started will probably know this question. It would be Miss Shelly Martinez. Yeah, there we go. Hey, this is Pingleton, whatever. What do you think about the whole WWE PG rating? I think people are blowing it completely out of proportion, to be completely honest. You need to realize that all that means is that you're going to see less sex. And less sex, somewhat less blood, and let me think, there's one other thing that you're not going to... Oh, and the language. That's the only thing that's going to change. So people need to get over themselves and stop acting like it's, going to be like kiddie cartoons. In light that my network suspended all original programming, wouldn't this be the time for WWE to send Smackdown over to NBC since Raw is already on USA? Problem with that is the NBC has got to want it, and they probably do not want it because wrestling does not make a lot of money advertising-wise. That is one of its... Draws good ratings, isn't big on advertising revenues because most of the big ad companies, most of the big companies don't want to advertise during pro wrestling. So there is why you will probably not see it there. I think it'll probably stay on the channels that it is on. Unless CW realizes that the mistake they made and want it back. So there you go. I'm curious as to whether you've seen the new direction Bill and Doug are going with their very long videos covering the spectrum of wrestling and MMA. What are your thoughts about it? And what your thoughts about it were. I actually liked their last video a lot. Not just because I think they covered a lot of issues, and I think that they took their time. And even they said that they felt like they were going to be able to take their time and talk about things more, and that was good. And I didn't agree with everything they said, of course, but I did think it was better than a lot of their other videos. So if that's what they want to do, I'm more for it. What do you think about P. Williams' release from TNA? Why do you think it happened, and where will he go now? I would imagine he'd go to Ring of Honor, and a lot of people are saying, oh, he'll go to the WWE. Unless you want to see P.D. Williams without the Canadian Destroyer, he will not go to the WWE, because he will not be using the Canadian Destroyer in the WWE, because they would never allow anyone to use that move. So I would imagine if he was going to go anywhere big, it would be Ring of Honor, maybe over to Japan. I am surprised they let him go. Of all the guys and apparently they're going to let a lot of guys go. Apparently they're getting ready to release a lot of people. Either A, just for cuts, or B, because they're going to bring in a lot of the guys WWE has just released. Some of which I would agree with, some of them probably not. We'd have to wait and see how all that plays out. But I would imagine we're probably going to see more of this. I am shocked that they got rid of P. Williams, though. He's one of the guys that I'm really, really surprised that they got rid of. But anyways, there you go there. And with that, I am out. Have a good one. Later.